This has 40 grams of protein, only 250 calories, and is the best way to get extra protein throughout your day because it is real, lean animal protein. In this video, I'm gonna show you how I make it and how I'm gonna turn this into a business. So several months ago, I started my fitness journey and began lifting weights for the first time in over a decade. And I started tracking my calories and my macros, and specifically found it really difficult to hit my daily protein goal, which is right around 170 to 180 grams of protein. Now, there's a ton of different ways you can do this, and a very popular way to do this in the fitness world is to consume protein bars and or protein shakes daily. Naturally, I did this and I really enjoyed it. I liked having a protein bar on the go, and I liked drinking the shake in the morning, but I often found myself wanting real animal protein at the end of the day. Like if I went to go get Chipotle, I would want extra protein on the bowl, or if I went to go out to eat and eat some tacos, I would want extra meat. And I found it pretty challenging to be able to do this consistently without going over my calorie limit. So I started making these chicken bars at home, and it quickly evolved into the product that I'm gonna show you how I make. And I lovingly refer to it as Schick'n, with an S. So I'm gonna show you how I make these at home, so maybe you can make them yourself, and I'm gonna explain to you why this product kind of came into my mind and why I'm considering pursuing it as a business. What am I talking about? Well, essentially it is chicken breast, which is not a revolutionary thing. So I started making this because it's a really easy way to get your protein content in without going over your calorie limit. So this is a 5-ounce serving of seasoned chicken breast, and it is roughly 250 calories with roughly 35 to 40 grams of protein. There's all kinds of different numbers out there. If you Google search how many calories and how many grams of protein are in chicken breast, you'll get a few different answers, but roughly this is what I use as my baseline when I record this in MyFitnessPal when I'm tracking calories. So let's get into how I make this and show you all the steps. So this whole thing starts off with about 5 pounds of chicken breast. This is boneless, skinless chicken breast. You can see here it's from H-E-B, it's a natural chicken, and it is 5.34 pounds, and it was about $21. So the first step in the process is we are going to trim this up, make sure there's no extra fat on these chicken breasts and that there isn't any weird bits that didn't get cut off in the trimming process. So we're gonna put these extras in a bowl while we work on one at a time. So really all I'm looking to do here is trim this excess fat, and there's sometimes a little piece of kind of cartilage or connective tissue in there that I like to get out just because it's not super pleasant to eat. Scraps, throw them out, or keep them if you want to put it in a soup or stock or something. So that's our chicken breast. The next step in the process is we need to weigh these chicken breasts to kind of get an average of how much each one weighs, and that'll tell us how much we need to cut off in order to get to that 5-ounce piece of chicken. This is also covered in plastic wrap because nobody wants chicken on their scale, so make sure you do that if you're gonna do this at home. So this breast is 10.4 ounces, which means we can get 2 Schick'n packs out of it. But a quick note on this, I don't cut them into 5-ounce strips anymore. I did when I first started, but I found that it made it more difficult to get consistent, uniform units or packages out of a batch. So instead of having like one really long and narrow, skinny piece of 5-ounce chicken, I'll put in 2 2.5-ounce pieces so that it's more consistent from a production and repeatability standpoint. Like if I cut 5 ounces off of this 10.4 ounce breast, I'd have 0.4 ounces left over, and it just makes it easier to cut this into 4 pieces, and then we'll just measure them and get them close enough to 5 ounces whenever we go for the cooking process. So now that I know that this is 10 ounces, I'm gonna cut this into 4 pieces. And this end's a little thicker, so you can use your best judgment to try to get these as even as possible. And let's see how we did. 2.7 ounces, 2.6 ounces, 3 ounces, and 3 ounces. So they're not perfect, but that'll give us some wiggle room whenever we go to put these together in the packages and make sure that we get a roughly consistent 5-ounce portion of chicken. Okay, so we got the chicken all fabbed out or cut into uniform pieces that we are then going to season and get packaged up in vacuum seal bags. So before we can get the chicken into the bags, we have to get the bags prepped Vacuum sealed bags or food saver bags come in rolls like this. This is the 8-inch wide version, which I prefer because these aren't very large packages. So we're gonna cut these to about 3 to 4 inch wide pouches that will seal one side of, so that when we put the chicken inside, it'll seal the other side, vacuum seal it, and it'll make a nice food container for these to be cooked in. So I haven't really found a better way to do this other than just taking my knife and cutting roughly this shape bag. So we'll seal this side and then we'll put the chicken in the pouch and then we'll vacuum seal the other side up. So I need to make about 17 to 18 of these depending on the yield that we get from the pieces of chicken. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut these up. Also want to note that if you cut these too narrow, it makes it really difficult to get the chicken in there and to get the sealer to push down and make a good seal on this side. So I always aim to shoot a little bit bigger than what is ideal. All right, so there are our bags. Let's go ahead and get one side sealed up. Then we can start packing the chicken. Okay, seasoning. Let's talk seasonings. So I've trialed a few different flavors, and so far I prefer 2 different seasonings on this chicken breast. So the idea behind this is not to make the most flavorful, tasty thing in the world. It's to make a very good tasting piece of chicken breast that you can either eat on the go or you can put it on top of a salad or as a meal topper. So we want it to be kind of neutral flavors, nothing too crazy so that it doesn't pair with something else, and something that you'd also enjoy if you were to just eat it straight. So my 2 favorites so far are just salt, pepper, garlic, onion, cayenne, so just a general seasoning, and then lemon pepper. Lemon pepper is amazing. I highly recommend you put lemon pepper on everything that you make. So we're gonna split this whole batch of chicken into 2 containers, season one half with the lemon pepper, season the other half with the other spice blend. And I'm just eyeballing this. It's not gonna be perfect. I'm sure you could get more specific and weigh out each individual piece in advance to make sure that you get the exact amount, but we're just looking to get this chicken made. First batch we're gonna do is gonna be salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, cayenne. First and foremost, salt. You want a lot of salt. This is gonna act as a brine as well as just general seasoning for the chicken, so make sure you get a lot of salt on there. It makes it taste super good. Black pepper. I happen to love black pepper, so I put a little extra. Cayenne for a little kick. Onion powder, not too much. Garlic powder. My hand looked weird there. And then we're just gonna give it a mix. Always start with clean hands, by the way. Really massage it in there. Okay, we're gonna pack these down so that there's a lot of contact, and this is gonna go into the fridge until we're ready to pack. Numero dos. Lemon pepper, baby. But you can't just do lemon pepper. You need some salt in there because there's no salt in lemon pepper. So we're gonna give this a generous amount of salt and give it that good old lemon pepper. It's hard to go with too much lemon pepper in my opinion. And just for grins, a little garlic, because who doesn't need garlic in their life? All right, that is looking good. Nice and lemon peppered up. And we're gonna go ahead and stick this in the fridge as well while we get those bags prepped up. Then we will go and pack those bags with this chicken. All right, so while all this was happening, I had a pot of water on the stove. It's set at that medium-high heat, and it's just heating up right now. We really would just want this to get heated up so that when we go to cook this chicken, we can monitor the temperature and make sure that we're hitting our temps. I've got my little garlic plush cooking buddy here. We'll come back to this in a while whenever we're ready to cook the chicken. But let's move on to getting those bags sealed. This is a food saver. It's got a little heat strip in here to seal the bags, and it pulls a vacuum, and it does a really nice job. I'm sure you know about this machine, so I'm not gonna go into too much detail, but basically we're gonna take these bags, we're gonna place them right in here, just barely up to the seal, and then we're gonna lock it down. Nope. And then we're gonna click seal, and then once it's done sealing, this light will shut off, and this bag will be good to go. So we'll just repeat this process the 20 times for all the bags that we made. And that is a nice sealed bag. See, it just melts it and it keeps it sealed. So then we put the chicken inside the pouch. While I'm doing this, I'll tell you a little bit more about this whole project and how I came upon it. So like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I started my fitness journey, and I keep saying that, and it's kind of an annoying term, but I got back into fitness. I got back into working out after a long time of not doing it. And I never, even when I was in high school and was more active in sports and stuff like that, I never really paid attention to nutrition. It just wasn't a thing. I had the metabolism of an 18-year-old, and so whatever I ate just got burned off. Well, I'm 35 now, and so nutrition is a much more important part of maintaining weight and also building muscle. So I started using MyFitnessPal. Highly recommend if you're looking to get into shape or track calories, I highly recommend using some calorie tracker. MyFitnessPal has been really good for me, so I recommend it. But I started trying to hit my protein goals, my daily protein goals, like I mentioned. And so I would eat protein bars and protein shakes in the morning and throughout the day. And I happened to be working gas stations, QT gas stations at the time. So my selection was limited to whatever was in the gas station. Luckily, QT does a good job. They have a lot of food options, but I would naturally eat like a turkey sandwich and some yogurt, which has a nice high protein content. And then I would always be missing like 30 or 40 grams of protein between lunch and dinner. And so I would eat protein bars and I'd drink protein shakes. But after a while, I got kind of tired of all the like super sweet candy and dessert flavors. I mean, that's pretty much the entire protein space is dessert type flavors. I was limited to that or just eating beef jerky, which was also awesome. I love beef jerky and it's great, but eating a bunch of salt and eating a bunch of preservatives is, one, it's not like great for you, but it's also not super appetizing to eat like 5 ounces of beef jerky, at least in my opinion. So I always wanted some extra protein. I always wanted just extra meat. And I began making extra portions of meat for myself when I would cook at home, but I would eat that or I'd just have it in the fridge, or I'd be like, hey, I have to take some roasted chicken with me to a gas station. It was just kind of a weird situation. So I wanted to find a solution to the problem that I had, which was I wanted clean, lean animal protein as my protein supplement. And I wanted it to be in a grab-and-go container, an option. So I was like, why don't I just make a package of chicken breast specifically? So I came home and I bought a food saver and I started making these and quickly realized that this was a perfect solution to not just my problem, but my girlfriend's problem, which she also tries to hit her protein goals as well. But one thing that I realized when I put these in the fridge is she would take them and she'd put them on top of her salad or on top of her sandwich or whatever she was having for lunch. And I, being the just Neanderthal that I am, I was like, I'm just gonna eat chicken out of this package and that's good enough for me. But it ended up being a really nice option to keep in the fridge. The downside to this is that these are, they're just cooked and packaged in a vacuum seal container. So they still have a relatively short shelf life. If you make these, ChatGPT says at least they have about a 7-day shelf life, at least that you can safely consume these without expecting any harmful bacterial growth. So I would make these batches, but then I'd have to either throw them in the freezer if I wasn't going to eat all 20 of them in the next week, or I have to eat them or toss them. So I ended up putting half of the batch in the freezer, and that works out really nice. So that's kind of the first step for me to like think about options of potentially turning this into a product that I could sell on the market. Is like, do I just go to the frozen food section and then just hope that people take this and thaw it out whenever they're ready? So I don't really like that option. That may end up being what I'm gonna do in the short term, but my long-term goal is I would like these to be in a shelf-stable, ready-to-go, preserved food package. And there's a type of packaging and processing called retort packaging, which is what the Army uses in the MRE meals that they make for soldiers that last for years. They're preserved and packaged at high temperature and high pressure. And so it preserves and sterilizes all of the ingredients inside. So I've started the process of reaching out to manufacturers and trying to get this product made. But unfortunately, this is a very challenging thing to do because this process is pretty specific to certain types of food. You'll see canned tuna and canned chicken, and they also have the packaging, the pouches of chicken and tuna, but the products in those pouches are not super high quality in my opinion. They are usually ground up and more of a paste when they enter the bag, which is kind of what the industry standard is for anything that's protein related. So naturally, these manufacturers, one, they deal in huge quantities. So I don't have the capital or the desire to purchase 250,000 units right out of the gate. And I also don't want it to be a kind of a pumpable product, a paste type product. I want it to be like firm, whole pieces of chicken. So I'm now at this kind of crossroads where I've done a lot of R&D at the house. I've made these samples. I've given them to friends and family, and I've gotten a lot of good feedback. And every person that I talk to that has tracked their protein to some degree and told them about this idea has been really excited about it. Like, yes, I would absolutely love to have, you know, these pieces of chicken in my cabinet to just grab and go and take on the road with me. So there's definitely market demand for it, in my opinion. If nothing else, it solves a problem for me, and I'm pretty into it. But the downside is not being able to get this one prototyped. I'm having a really hard time finding a manufacturer that will at least prototype this or trial this. So I'm trying to get creative and reach out to some other places that may have these retort machines on site and would be willing to do this. But like I said, this industry is also, they're providing this service for very large companies, and they have the infrastructure to make these products, but as long as they're like pumpable meat pastes or liquids. And so they don't have the machinery to put the chicken into the pouch, the whole pieces of chicken. So that's another problem that I'm kind of coming up against. So I have now considered potentially buying a small retort machine myself and finding a co-manufacturer that would be willing to let me place it in their facility and kind of utilize the license, because there's a lot more than just making the product. It has to be USDA and FDA compliant and all this other stuff, food manufacturing stuff that I'm trying to learn as I'm getting into this. Having said all that, I still feel pretty positive that this is a worthwhile pursuit, and I've been really looking for something to start, a business to start. And this in particular solves a problem for me and appears to solve a problem for other people. So I'm hoping that this turns out to be a worthwhile venture. And if nothing else, I have a branded chicken product that can be manufactured that is, you know, available for me. That's the worst case scenario, and thousands of dollars maybe that I spend that could go awry. But that's kind of the overview of the business currently and where my head is at with making this a real product on the market. Outside of all that, this video was intended to show you how I do this, and if this is something that you're interested in, if you could let me know. You know, comment down below and let me know if this is a product that you personally would be interested in buying, because any feedback that I get is going to be helpful, even if it's super negative. Even if you're like, this is the stupidest idea I've ever heard of, I would never buy this, no way. That's good for me to hear. I need as much feedback as I can. That was kind of the point of making this video, was to one, get this idea out there and just make it clear that this is a thing that I'm interested in pursuing, and I wanted to show you all how to do it. So if you are interested in making this at home, it's pretty straightforward. This isn't rocket science, but I wanted to show you how I do it. Yeah, that's pretty much the whole story. I do have a stupid name for this product. I have affectionately called this product Schick'n, because I naturally have kind of a sh when I say chicken. I don't know if it's just me with a mouthful of spit or what, but I think that's a cool name, Schick'n. Be on the lookout for more updates. I will be posting more about the business as I do more research and find out more information. So I intend on sharing that on this channel. And if you're interested, let me know. If you're not interested, hey, that's cool too. So we've got all of our bags sealed up, and they are ready to be packed with chicken, or Schick'n, should I say. Our water is going over here, so I will put a thermometer in there and see what temperature it's holding at, and we'll grab the chicken out of the refrigerator. Sometimes you can leave this chicken for several hours or even overnight to kind of brine and let the flavors seep in. I have found that it has not made a huge impact, because the way that we're cooking this is essentially going to be sous videing it. So it's a really gentle, nice way of cooking and preserving the meat inside, and it will be in its own juices. So it's going to be like super tender and moist and really, really good. So let's move on to packing the chicken in here and getting these vacuum sealed. So the camera totally cut off when I was filling all these bags, but we did the lemon pepper over here, and we got the other seasoning over here. So I'm just going to show you what I was doing to portion them. I was getting 2 pieces and laying them on there to hit roughly 5 ounces. 5.5 is actually more accurate, because this chicken loses a little bit of weight by the juice that it loses when it cooks. So it'll yield roughly a 5-ounce finished cooked chicken product. So we take the 2 pieces and we just open up our little bag right here. We try to avoid hitting the upper side of the bag so that the seam won't be inhibited whenever we put it in there. So we just throw 1 piece in there, the other piece in there, just kind of make sure that they are pushed down so that they are nice and tight in there when we go to put that edge into the vacuum seamer. It doesn't crimp the chicken itself. That's what that looks like. So we've got all of our chicken bagged up and ready to go, and now we're going to vacuum seal them. So similar to how we did the seamer, we're just going to open this up again, and we're going to take the bag, we're going to push the chicken down as best we can, and lay it just far enough to where it hits that seaming edge. And then we're gonna push this down, lock it, and click vacuum seal. And that's how you know it's done, when those lights shut off. Once it's done, we're gonna unlock this and inspect it. It looks pretty good. It's got all the air removed, tight chicken pouch that we can then toss into the water to cook. So we're gonna seam the rest of these up. While I'm finishing vacuum sealing, I'm going to go ahead and put the first batch. I hate that saying, I'm going to go ahead. Where am I going to go ahead to? Let's just stop saying I'm going to. Just do. Don't say you're going to. Anyways, while I'm waiting on these to be vacuum sealed, I will put the chicken pouches, the lemon pepper chicken pouches, the first batch into the water. So if you can see, this water is sitting at 197, so that's a little high. So I'm gonna add a little water to cool it down to around 180, and then I'm going to put the chicken in and it will drop the temp to roughly 170, 160 degrees, and we are going to cook that for 15 minutes. Okay, I've added the water and it's gotten down to around 180 degrees, so I'm gonna add that first batch of chicken and set the timer. Little garlic buddy, you wanna watch? Okay. First batch going in. We're gonna do about 8 of them. This seems like a lot, but it ends up being just fine. I've cooked it this way several times where it seems a little crowded, but I'll come in here and I'll flip them periodically. Make sure we have tongs on hand, and that's dropped that temperature to around 170-ish degrees, and that is the temperature that we wanna cook this at slowly. Our dial is set to the 4 mark, and that maintains temperature pretty well at the 170 degrees. Set a timer for 15 minutes, and those chickens will be cooking. We're just gonna monitor the temperature and adjust it if we need to. So as this batch is cooking, we're gonna monitor it. We're gonna continue to move the chicken around and make sure that that temperature is stable, which it is. It's at 170 degrees. So this is technically sous videing. So you're cooking the protein in a bag at a specific temperature. All the professionals out there, I understand that it's not recirculating and this isn't super accurate, but for a home cook, this works perfectly. So the next step in the process, once we hit our 15-minute mark and it's cooked all the way through, we're then gonna shock this. We're gonna cool it down rapidly in a bowl of ice water so that the cooking process stops and it just preserves the texture that we achieved in this 15-minute sous vide time. So some questions that you might have. Why not just buy chicken? Well, that's a good question. There is chicken available in the world, but there isn't chicken available in a 5-ounce package that is seasoned and ready to eat, room temp, or not even room temp, just grab and go off the shelf. Yes, beef jerky, chicken jerky, turkey jerky, those things do sort of fit the qualities that I want in the product, but again, difficult to chew in large quantities. I'm looking to get an extra 40 grams of protein, not just 10 grams. Beef sticks are good too, but again, high sodium rates, and they're not as versatile as this piece of chicken is, where you can add it to a meal instead of it just being a standalone product. Another question that I've gotten from people is, why not just do it frozen, right? Like you could just freeze them and I could usurp the entire retorting process, which is going to be the most challenging aspect of making this a real product on the market. And the answer is, that's a really good point. And it's something that I've kind of struggled with because my brain automatically goes to, well, if it's not super simple and super easy to just grab and go and keep on hand at room temperature, then it's not that differentiated. People, you can go and buy chicken breast that's cooked and ready to go that is in the frozen section. Selling frozen products, especially in retail, is very difficult. The frozen section is extremely competitive, and granted, it is maybe equally as challenging to get the product to be manufactured in a shelf-stable way, but I think that this is a better product to solve the problem that I'm trying to solve. The other main reason that I want to go with the retort process where it's shelf stable is I want this to be a direct-to-consumer product. I would ideally like to launch this product via social media and sell it on Amazon, TikTok Shop, and sell it directly to you or whoever is the consumer, instead of having to go through retail, which can be kind of a racket, and on a small scale, it's really challenging. And I feel pretty confident that I can get this message out via social media and YouTube and stuff like that and find the right audience that want to purchase this. So those are kind of all the reasons that I'm pursuing it in this way. And yeah, food's tough. CPG or consumer packaged goods, it's tough. But I feel like this is something that solves a problem for me. And that's always one of the best ways to start a business or explore entrepreneurship is solve a problem that you have. And there are guaranteed to be many other people in the world that are like you and have that same problem, so you can solve it for them. Or if you don't want me to solve the problem by making this product so that you can buy it in the store or have it shipped directly to you, you can just make it like this at home. That's the other point of this video is, yeah, I could make this into a commercially viable product, but you can also just buy chicken from the store and make it yourself. All right, this batch is done. Let's get this moved over to the ice bath. All right, chicken, done. So we're gonna keep this soaked in here so that this chicken can fully cook off, and then we'll show you the finished result. Let's go in with the final batch. So for the first batch, we're gonna take it out and we're gonna put it into a colander to get it completely drained of water so that I don't have a bunch of water sitting in a pan in my fridge. And we're gonna put our second batch of chicken in the ice water to get that cooled down and crashed. Boom. Boom! It's Schick'n. Doesn't that sound nice? Yeah, I think I can get behind this shit. So this is Schick'n. It happens to be 5:10, so it's not really close to dinner time, but I am kind of peckish. So I'm gonna crack one of these open and I'm gonna show you exactly what's inside. This is fully cooled and ready to eat. I would normally just throw this in the fridge or throw it into the freezer so that I can keep them longer. But let's bust this open and I will tell you what it's like. All right, so it's cut open. Let's talk about a couple of downsides. Not everything is just sunshine and rainbows, and this is the perfect solution to every problem that you have. There are a couple of drawbacks that aren't super ideal that I'm gonna address why I think I can fix them in the future. One, this package is a little difficult to open. You can see I used a pair of scissors to open this. Usually have to do that or take a knife. If you're on the go, kind of chomp it on the edge. It makes it really hard to open this package. So that's one downside to using this vacuum seal method. The other downside is this, the juice that ends up in the package. If you're eating this on the go, it just leaves you with a package with like an ounce of chicken juice and seasoning and stuff like that. And you know, you don't want to just hang on to that. So I usually will dump the juice out or immediately throw it away. So those are the two main downsides. Some solutions for that are obviously if I do this in the proper retort package, then they'll have like easy open rippable tops and that's not a big deal. And then as far as the juice is concerned, it's something that I've thought a lot about. So the method of cooking this in a sous vide manner, like I just showed you, makes the chicken so much better. It just preserves it, basically like keeps it in its own juices and keeps it really moist and tender, and it's very nice. I have done it other way where I've cooked the chicken before, put it into the pouch, and then vacuum sealed it. That also turned out great. It just wasn't quite as juicy and fresh. So it's kind of a toss-up. I'm not really certain how it would be the best to do on a production scale. So it'll kind of, if I do end up producing this on a larger scale, it'll be dependent on whatever, one, produces the best product, but two, the facility is able to manufacture. So it may be that the chicken has to be cooked and then frozen and then packaged in the retort pouch before it gets cooked in the retort process. And it could be that the raw chicken gets put in the pouch and then it gets cooked in the retort process, which would still leave the juice in the product. So I don't know. I need more customer feedback, so I'm gonna get these samples out to some more people to let me know their feedback. But enough about the kind of mechanics of how this shit works. Let's just eat it. So I will often just push the piece of chicken up and eat it like a push pop because I'm an animal. Dude, it is so good, really. Like, I know you probably think that I'm hamming it up for the camera, and I'm sure I am to some extent, but this is just really good chicken. It's just good chicken breast, and if you have a need to hit a protein goal, or you just want protein to put on things and you don't want to prepare chicken breast or touch raw chicken, and you don't want to just use shitty frozen Tyson chicken, mishmash pieces of meat altogether, this is such a good option. Seriously, if you don't even consider buying this, if I make it a product, go and make this at your house. I promise you won't regret it. I spent $22 on the chicken. The packaging material probably cost me $5, and then the time and effort And I've got, how many did I get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 13, 14 pieces of chicken. So I ended up yielding less units because I put more large pieces in there. 14 pieces of chicken, roughly 35 to 45 grams of protein, depending on how large the piece was. And you can eat this 2 of them a day for an entire week. So you can get 80 grams of protein potentially extra per day with a $20 investment in the chicken. I don't know. I think it's really great. I don't meal prep a lot, but when I do, I often think about how stupid I am for not doing it more frequently because it makes so much sense. Anyways, that's the chicken. It's very tender. You can see it's very tasty. This is the lemon pepper. It's my favorite. I love it. And that's how I make pre-portioned chicken bites for me to eat throughout the week in order to get my protein goals. I had a great time making this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're interested in making this stuff at home, just follow that recipe. It's not really a recipe, it's just kind of a process. I know Mr. Garlic enjoyed hanging out with me here. So yeah, go and make this yourself. And if I decide to make this into a commercially viable product, hopefully you'll be interested in it and you'll give it a shot and let me know what you think. Bye. Yeah, I know, like, this is me just talking to myself. I know that people are gonna think that I'm full of shit, but I love it. I just love it.